Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I'm back with another video. Today's video features my monthly Hero Arts kit from July 2022, and these little flamingos are so adorable. I'm normally not like a stamp layering person, you guys know this because I'm a colorist, but these guys are super cute. We're going to do a really fun technique today that is called the mirror technique. You've probably seen it a lot for to get two of the same image that are facing different directions. Today we're going to be using it to create a reflection in the water of these flamingos. It's a super kind of fun technique for summer with all of like these water-based cards that you can use with really any stamps you got, but these ones are adorable. So I picked out in the kit is $35, but it's actually $75 worth of product. These kits are always a great value, but they do give you inks to use. I chose to use Distress Oxides for this particular technique because of the mirror technique. It stays wet a little bit longer because it does have those pigment properties, and that's very helpful for when you're trying to stamp the reflection. So I just picked out a couple of flamingo type colors. I could have gone really pink. I chose to go more of a corally pink. So I'm using Tattered Rose, Saltwater Taffy, and Abandoned Coral. Took me a second there, but we got it. The other thing that I just want to show you is here when I first stamped down my second color, you really cannot see it. You can't. It's almost the same exact color. But if you stamp twice, it will deepen your color. This is true for dye inks as well. If you stamp twice, it will deepen your color, and sometimes that's just enough to give you a little bit more contrast so that you're happier with your results. I find that with the stamp layering images, one of the things that is most challenging for me is coming up with a 3-color blend that I'm happy with the amount of contrast that I have. So for the bottom portion, I am using this Abandoned Coral. I did have to Google the flamingos, and if you guys watch my channel, that you know that I like to look up the images that I'm coloring or using so that I can try to make them match real life. Not always, because it's my card and I do what I want. It's your card, you do what you want. I just looked them up and they do in fact have pink legs. I thought that they were yellow, but they're not. They're pink. And so I'm stamping with this Abandoned Coral, and it's super cute. I didn't have to stamp that one twice necessarily, but I did anyway because I'd stamped the other one twice, and then I was nervous I wouldn't have enough contrast. It would have been fine. I was just being paranoid, and sometimes that happens. Here, I'm just going to go ahead and stamp their little eyeballs and this portion of their beaks in black. And then this part of it is done. It's so quick. They were really easy to line up. And I love how clean this is. So you could totally not even build the whole scene, just stamp these little guys and they would be enough for like a clean and simple card because they are like the stamp layering stamps are so intricate and they offer so much dimension just on their own. So I went ahead and die cut this out because I need it for placement for the mirror technique. So, like I said, I've used the mirror technique in the past. I have done reflection cards in the past as well, but I've never combined the two. And this was actually really easy. So now that this part's done, we're going to move on to working on our background. I'm going to use a combination of Distress Inks and Distress Oxides to do some ink blending to create like this really pretty blue sky and more of like a tealish blue, tealish green, teals right in the middle of blue and green. You know what I'm saying. Water, because I think that's really pretty with the coral. Love teals and coral. Pretty, pretty, pretty. This is kind of a short video for me, only whatever, 17-ish minutes. You guys know that if you have been watching my videos, that life around here has just been a little bit wild. Before we go on to my life story, I cannot remember if I mentioned it, so I'm going to. This is part of a blog hop. It will be linked below. I think you have until the 11th to comment, and then Hero Arts is generously giving away a $50 gift card to the store. along, like they're just picking a random commenter along the hop. So don't miss out on your chance to do that. Plus, there's like bunches of inspiration if you are a kit person. The way Hero Arts kits work, if you they're only sold as many as they have. Once the kit's out, the kit's out. They won't replenish it. So if it's something that you're interested in, you're going to want to head over and pick it up. I have a feeling this one's probably going to go pretty fast. But anyway, so back to my life. Because isn't that what you're all here for? I'm kidding. If you're new to this channel, I'm really not that arrogant. But so while we've been going through all this stuff with Caitlin, in and out of the hospital, if you missed those stories, you're going to just want to go back like the last 3 videos because it was that long. While all of this was going on with Caitlin, obviously, she's not the only child that we have. So I would like to take a minute to talk about my son, who was just an absolute rock star throughout this entire thing. He was so concerned about his sister. He was so very sweet. With me being sick and her being sick, which, by the way, Eric got sick the week, like, this past week, so after we came back from the hospital. So again, here we are with me, Eric, Caitlin sick, and somehow my peanut butter has skated, and I hope that it stays the same way. Everybody should be past the point of being any kind of contagious. Here, now that my background is done, I am going to use my Tombow Mono Multi Glue. This is repositionable when it dries, so I'm just tapping it to kind of expedite that process because I have no patience. Just ask my husband. And I'm going to put this down for placement purposes. I don't want to glue it permanently. I just want to hold it there so that I can see what I'm doing, because now we're going to get into the actual technique. I started with the legs because you want to start with whatever portion is going to go right, whatever portion of the reflection or shadow is going to go right up against your image. This is a piece of acetate from Hero Art. I have these because I use them for my shaker cards. And when I'm done with this, I'm just going to wipe it off and put it back in my little pack, and I'll use it for another shaker card in the future. But old packaging will also work as well. You don't necessarily have to have acetate. I'm going to stamp these down just like I normally would. I'm using a Misty, so it's very easy to just go straight down and back up. If you're using an acrylic block, you don't want to wiggle on the acetate. You just want to go straight down, straight back up. And then you're going to flip it over, and we're actually going to use this acetate to stamp that ink right onto our card. So we're going to hold with one hand and we're going to press with the other, and then we're going to switch hands, hold with this hand and press with the other one, and this is going to start to give us our reflection. Now, because this is a layering set, the legs are separate from the body. I'm going to skip the middle layer. I don't need it. I'm not looking for detail, and I'm just going to go directly to the base layer, which has the entire body of all of the flamingos. Because this is a new stamp and Hero Art stamps are very good quality, it's straight up sticking to my acetate. So I did have to peel it off and kind of reposition it. I'm using the same color that I stamped the legs with. I chose to go with my middle color, which was the saltwater taffy. And again, I'm going to stamp this down, and then I'm going to flip my acetate over and use it to stamp on my card. You will notice that my stamping is not perfect. I don't have perfect coverage. It doesn't matter. This technique is so forgiving, you guys. So here, I'm going to stamp this down so that I have my little bodies where they're supposed to go. And it already clearly looks like a reflection. You know I can't leave anything alone, so we're going to do a couple of things to kind of like amp up the scene portion. But really, the reflection part is done. Unless you're unhappy with it because you don't have good coverage. And then I'm going to show you how to fix that too, because I believe that almost everything is fixable. So here there are a base layer for the water and the ripples. I'm going to use just the ripples. And I'm stamping in Distress Oxides. Distress inks don't stamp great. I thought that I could stamp it once and then flip it over so that it wasn't just the same image repeated. This is going to create a little bit of variation. But the second generation stamp was not enough. So I'm going to go ahead and clean my stamp off, and then I'm going to stamp it again in my salvaged patina, which is my lighter color, and that transition was much better. And then I will stamp it a third time. I'm going to flip it over again, stamp it a third time for that second generation stamping. And that way it just kind of blends out into the smoother areas, and it's not just like this really harsh line. They have these cute little clouds. I'm a sucker for clouds. I don't know why I find clouds so adorable, but I do. Cute little clouds in this set. And I am going to stamp these with the Hero Arts Unicorn Pigment ink. It's just white ink. Really what this is going to do is I could leave them really soft in the background, but what I am actually going to do is use this as a guideline to create some more shimmer and shine on my card, because I like a lot of shimmer and shine on the cards. Like, I just do. So this will get darker if you stamp it multiple times. I chose not to because I knew I was going to be using the shimmer on top of it, but I could have left those stamps in place, stamped them another time. The white pigment would have been more opaque. Or you could heat emboss it because it is pigment ink, so you could use white embossing powder and get them really solid and shiny. So now here's how we fix it if we don't like how it's going. First of all, I just wanted to show you, I'm working on regular cardstock, so there's not going to be a whole lot of moving of the pigment. Like, even though Distress inks and Distress oxides react with water, it's not going to do a whole lot of movement because this isn't watercolor paper. It's already absorbed in. But this does allow us to go in with that same color we stamped with and fill in any of the areas that maybe didn't stamp solid and really bolster up that look of the reflection. So that's all I'm doing here. I have a number 2 round brush. I prefer the black velvet line. They are a little bit on the pricier side, but I use them all the time, so for me it's worth the investment. I have a 2, a 4, an 8, and a 1-inch flat. But you can certainly use whatever you have on hand. And I'm just going to go in. I'm going to pick up a little bit of this. This is the oxide because that's what I stamped in. This saltwater taffy. And then I'm just going to fill in the areas to make them a little bit more solid. So, like I said, very forgiving technique. If you're unhappy with the way that yours looks, just fix it with a paintbrush. Super cool. So, back to my wonderful child. So he's very concerned about his sister. He was always asking after her, especially like the times that we were in the hospital. He would call me and, how is she? Can you send me a picture? Can you send me a video? And then even like around the house. So he has chores. Of course he does. He's a little boy and he needs chores and responsibility because we're trying to raise good humans. And so one of his chores is to load the cups and plates. Cups, plates, silverware. He doesn't have to do the pots and pans, basically, is what his chore is. And so several times during the week while we were trying to figure out what was going on with Caitlin, he not only did the dishes without being prompted to, he did all of them, did the pots and pans, even though he's not responsible for that. He helped with his laundry. He helped with cleaning up the house. He, at one point, when she was home, we were using a Cool Mist humidifier. Let's go back to the card real quick. So here I'm just taking a little bit of that shimmer and I am following along the lighter lines that the ripple leaves. And I am going over the reflection, because you can't really see this when you look at the card head on, but when the light catches it, that's where you see the shimmer. And in real life, if you were looking at it from an angle and the sun was reflecting off the water, it would break up some of that reflection. And so this Perfect Pearls is going to give us that same kind of reflective property that the sun would. Now, the only thing we have left to do is stamp the sentiment and then, of course, add a little bit more shimmer to the flamingos and adhere them down permanently. So we're using a Cool Mist humidifier, which the filter had gone and needed to be replaced. So we were using his. And he was like, does Caitlin need this upstairs? And I was like, yeah, but it's kind of heavy. Like, Erica, I'll get it. He split it up into 2 pieces, carried it upstairs, was like really quick with her blankie or pacifier if she needed it. And he was just all around amazing, especially since we were shuffling him to different places while we were trying to care for her. So sometimes he would be with Eric's mom, like I told you in the morning that we had to rush her to the emergency room. Eric's mom was here, and so Nathan was home with her. Sometimes he would be with my mom and dad, where they would come get him, or we would have to drop him off. He was just so flexible. And I felt terrible, you know what I mean, that I really didn't even get to see much of him because we were having, you know, this emergency with her medically that we needed to take care of. But he really was just totally fantastic and very sweet about the whole thing. And I've heard like nightmare stories about, you know, siblings where maybe they were jealous of their sibling or they didn't like them or they love the idea of having a sibling until you brought your baby home. And he really does just genuinely adore her. And I am so grateful for that. Oh, I did forget. I told you all I had left was a sentiment. I lied. You guys know that I don't like white outlines. It's no secret here on my channel that I typically do color them once I get them into place, and that is what I'm doing here. I used I think it was a BG13. It could have been a 23. They're very similar colors. A BG11 and then a B00. And I went around. I was careful about not getting, because these are no line images, I was careful about not getting the Copic marker onto my flamingos. But they're such light colors, I don't even know if it would have mattered, honestly, if I had. I am going to add a little bit of clear shimmer to my actual flamingos, which is a little more subtle than the Perfect Pearls. But then that's it. That's the whole card. So thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope that you will head over and check out the Blog Hop, because there's just endlessly talented designers to see if you have already picked up this kit or if you're interested in getting it. And I appreciate your time. I hope you guys all had a wonderful 4th, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye.